The United Homa Nation is a Native American tribe located in the southeastern part of Louisiana. The United Homa Nation is one of 11 tribes that are state recognized and one of 15 recognized tribes that are native to Louisiana. The history of the United Homa Nation dates back centuries, with evidence of their presence in the Gulf Coast region existing as early as the 17th century.
The United Homa Nation tribe is documented that they were near the Louisiana-Mississippi border, near around St. Francisville, the Angola area, where present-day Angola Penitentiary is. We have migrated down from there. We were located, we had a village around the Baton Rouge area for quite some time. That's where Baton Rouge's name came from. It means red stick. That was our hunting ground. We were in a battle with the other tribes that were located there, one of them being the Bayagula tribe. The stick was put in place there with an animal head to represent the division, the line of where the hunting grounds was separated. Later on, we began to migrate further down into the Lafourche and Bayou areas, into the swamplands, to the areas that were deemed uninhabitable, undesirable. In those areas is where our people settled, and from those swamplands is where our people thrived and received everything that they needed from the land to be able to become the nation that we are today.
The tribe chose to migrate down into the lower Bayou land as European, French, and Spanish colonists began living in the tribe's Baton Rouge territory and hunting grounds. They migrated to these areas to avoid the 1830 Indian Removal Act, an act that was signed into law by President Andrew Jackson on May 28, 1830, authorizing the president to grant unsettled lands west of the Mississippi in exchange for Indian lands with existing state borders and the Trail of Tears, an act that allowed the United States government to forcibly remove the southeastern Native Americans from their homelands and relocate them to lands in Indian Territory. However, the United Homa Nation wasn't removed and put into a reservation, as they were overlooked by the federal government during the period because they were considered a small tribe. In the marsh, they established a self-sufficient way of life, largely cut off from the rest of society, until the 1950s. During the 1950s and 60s, integrated communities formed in Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes. Living in integrated communities in Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes was difficult for Louisiana Native Americans, as they faced race and cultural discrimination.
The times when the natives were living in integrated communities in Terrebonne and Lafourche Parish, I have to only be able to speak on the stories that were passed down to me, what was happening in their lifetime and that during that time. It was very difficult. There was a lot of discrimination that was happening. There was a lot of racism that was happening. It was in a time period where there was fights, the civil rights were happening beforehand. There was a lot of legal fighting that was happening after the civil rights era to still be, for the indigenous people to still be included as far as schooling, jobs, things of that nature, which is one of the reasons is why our tribe is so spread out. It was because that they were not able to have the opportunity to get education or employment here in parts of the parish, which led them to go ahead to migrate more north into the cities of like New Orleans, where they were more acceptable.
However, despite trying to find areas where they could feel more accepted, education was out of the question for the Homa youths, as the 1917 court case Henry Billiot versus Terrebonne Parish School Board decision determined that the Homa Indian children could not attend white schools because these children might be part black. It was not until the mid-1960s that the tribe finally received its validation of American Indian identity through the court case Margie Nakam versus Terrebonne Parish School Board, which overturned the Henry Billiot versus Terrebonne Parish School Board decision. However, even though equal educational pursuits were granted, Few Homa natives attended school, graduated high school, and went to college, as many feared the continuation of discrimination that they experienced in public schools would continue. Many members chose to continue to work in traditional tribal employment as fishermen, where they thrived, or left Louisiana to pursue education.
My aunt and uncle was 2 of the 6 that graduated in the first class from Dakeville for graduation in 1966. And when my uncle tried to go to college with his high school graduate, he was told that his diploma wasn't worth the paper that it was printed on. So he was not allowed to go to college in Louisiana from graduating from an Indian school, but he was allowed to go to Berkeley. And he went to Berkeley, California, one of the, prestigious schools.
Over time, the United Homa Nation tribe gained more access to education and rights to fight back against discrimination, as President Johnson signed the Indian Civil Rights Act of 1968 in April, granting American Indians equal protection under the law and the extension of privileges and protections laid out in the U.S. Constitution. 9 years later, the state of Louisiana officially recognized the United Homa Nation. In the 1980s, the tribe submitted to the United States Department of the Interior a petition for federal acknowledgement.
The United Homa Nation tribe began seeking federal recognition within the late 1970s to mid-1980s. So at that time in the 70s, up until the 70s, the tribe was separated by bands. So we had a Lafourche band of the Homa Indians, and we had a Terrebonne band of the Lafourche Indians, and there were 2 names. So one was the Homa Alliance, and one was considered what's called the Homa tribe. Around 1979, somewhere around that time frame, the 2 bands decided to join, to come together, which formed United Homa Nation. So that's where the word united came into, to form one large band. In, I believe it was around 1985, between 83 and 85, somewhere around that time frame, is when they actually filed for their petition for federal recognition. Before then, a few years before then, they filed a letter of intent to the BIA, and then followed by the petition. And then it took several years for the petition to be reviewed, and there was some negative findings in some of the criteria of what they considered to be, acceptable for a federal tribe. So I believe there was, there's a 7, I believe, questions. I'm not 100%, I believe there's like 7 questions. We had 4 that needed to be reviewed. So the United Homa Nation did a rebuttal of the BIA's negative finding on some of parts of the petition. During that rebuttal, the tribe had the opportunity to give, to be able to answer some of the questions that were coming back as far as the negative findings. And then we were hit by, one major storm after another. And the tribe's petition went on an emergency hold due to the hurricanes, there was a lot of devastation here in the parishes. And since then, I believe we've been on hold, and and then there was a revision into the federal recognition process. So there's been one thing after another since that first original filing that has kept us from continuing forward.
The tribe has been on hold for federal recognition since 1994, as the Bureau of Indian Affairs, an agency of the U.S. Department of Interior that serves the principal link between federally recognized American Indian and Alaska Native populations, and the U.S. government declared that the Homa Indians had failed to meet the criteria of federal recognition. The BIA argued that the tribe eventually went extinct amid intermarriage and disease. It also rejected claims that the Homas were an organized tribe, calling them an amalgamation of the Native American group. However, the Homa tribe was mentioned in French documents as early as 1682. The French said that the Homas had red crawfish as their symbol and were living roughly where Baton Rouge is today, and marked their territory with a bâton rouge, French for red stick. Additionally, priests historically described the Homa as a rich culture with male and female leaders. However, the federal agency did not change its stance and last rejected the attempt for federal recognition in 2015. And because of the denied federal recognition, there has been serious damage to the tribe's culture and their South Louisiana land. If federally recognized, the tribe would be eligible for educational opportunities, healthcare, and a myriad of other benefits, including disaster relief. Disaster relief would be extremely valuable in the United Homa Nation, as the tribe has been pummeled by hurricanes Katrina, Rita, Gustav, Ike, and the BP spill all since 2005, and would likely be available to protect the tribe's land from coastal erosion.
Natural disasters such as hurricanes, flooding, have played a major role in the development in our landscape for the United Homa Nation, because we are a people that live right along the coast. We work, we live one-on-one with the water and with the land, and having these hurricanes come every so often or every so many years and just totally destroy a lot of where our homelands are, and with coastal erosion at the rate that it is happening along our coast, we are losing, land at a pace faster than anywhere else in the lower 48. Without federal recognition, the part that has played on the tribe has hurt us a lot, because we don't have a legal hold on some of these tribal lands, these ancestral tribal lands that we have. So if you take the BP oil spill for disaster that really hit and devastated a lot of our fishermen, we did not have a legal standing as a tribe as a whole, because we didn't have that federal recognition stamp to be able to file on behalf of the whole tribe, to be able to come back and serve our people that were, that lost, their whole seasons due to the BP oil spill. It has affected land and mineral rights, where a lot of these oil and gas industries have come in and acquired, in one way or another, legally or not, some of our ancestral tribal lands. We don't have that legal backing to be able to fight for some of that land back, or to be able to prove that that was traditionally United Homa Nation lands. So federal recognition has played a major part in those fights when it comes to land.
Today, the United Homa Nation tribal citizens are still struggling after the 2021 catastrophic Category 4 hurricane, Ida. The Bayou residents living alongside the Gulf Coast are still wondering if they will ever return home, because without federal recognition, home recovery is much slower or nearly impossible. Being federally recognized would allow the United Homa Nation to directly negotiate aid and help their communities more quickly. And to help with the slower relief and citizens in need, the United Homa Nation tribes started working together to support their community. The United Homa Nation's Intertribal Council and Vocational Rehabilitation Center are two organizations that were created to support and assist tribal members in preserving land and culture, providing guidance and assisting the tribal community.
The Intertribal Council of Louisiana and the United Homa Nation Vocational Rehabilitation Program do two different services to the indigenous people of Louisiana. So the Intertribal Council of Louisiana is a consortium of the 4 federal tribes plus the United Homa Nation, and they form together to be able to build a workforce for the enrolled tribal members of those tribes, job placement, learning skills, being able to put tribal members in employment. We have monthly council meetings. We rotate each district every month. So out of 10 months out of the years, because we don't have a tribal council meeting in June and we don't have one in December, but we have one in St. Mary's, we have one in Dulac, we have one in Jefferson, to be able to reach those tribal citizens that are far. Now, as far as our tribal citizens that do not reside in one of the districts, we tried to keep communication going through the online newsletter, and now the tribe has a paper newsletter for those that are not using any kind of, social media, things like that, to be able to keep our tribal members, aware of what's happening. The United Home Nation Vocational Rehabilitation Program is aimed to help United Home Nation tribal members and Chitimacha tribal members with documented disabilities. So they may have a little bit more struggle trying to find employment on their own or need assistance. So they're able to help tribal members with doctor's appointments, to be able to have, if they have a diagnosis, they're able to help with if they're no longer able to do one job or employment or trade, they can learn to do a new trade if it needs help or assistance in being self-employed, if they need tools or skills along that line. Just it's aimed to be able to put more of our tribal members back into the work field that may not otherwise have that opportunity or have the assistance.
The United Homa Nation tribe also provides services and assistance for their youth. The youth program created by the tribe is aimed at getting their children involved and helping maintain their culture to ensure it gets passed down from generation to generation. The program includes a United Homa Nation Youth Council for ages 12 through 18 enrolled in school, cultural excursions and exploration day events, higher education preparation, career exploration, and sports.
We have, we've had several youth programs for the United Homa Nation over the year. The current youth program is being run by Miss Jamie Bilyat Dordar, and she holds monthly or bi-weekly Zoom calls with youth that gives the opportunity from youth from all of the different parishes or all of the different districts to be able to come together and interact with each other online. So they did hold a couple in-person ones. My son was able to go to it at the Homa Library. They were doing art and paint, and they were talking to the youth about what they would like to learn in this, in this program. So a lot of them talked about dancing, a lot of them talked about wanting to learn how to make regalia. With all of the ideas that they come with, they also include, the reasoning why we wear certain regalias, why we do certain dances. So they teach that educational part of it. It's been working out great. It gives that flexibility because there's children of different ages, so they customize the times for children that may have, programs at certain time after school, activities. So it's been going good, and we're hoping to see it grow.
In addition to keeping the tradition alive through youth programs, the tribe holds vocational rehabilitation powwows. The first ever vocational rehabilitation powwow took place in 2008 and has helped the tribe reconnect with one another. These powwows are very significant aspects of the tribe's culture as they raise awareness to communities, states, and governments that they will never give up on defending, protecting, and celebrating their culture.
The United Homa Nation hosts a vocational rehabilitation disability awareness powwow every year. The powwow is designed to bring our tribal members together from, around Louisiana. They come in from other states. We also invite the public. It is a free event for people to come in and share in one of our traditions. So we have drumming, we have dancing, we have a head lady, a head man, we have youth that participate. There are categories that dancers can win in. Crafters from all over, come in to sell, beadwork, to sell, accessories, their crafts. Lots of great food. The Homa tribe always has a fried bread booth that always does really well. People love the food. And it's just a time to gathering. It's a time for family to come together, you know, that you may not have seen. It's like a family reunion. There's a lot of prayer, there's a lot of love, there's a lot of singing, and it's a lot of memories made. I've been going to powwows for as long as I can remember, and every powwow that I've been, from my own powwow, our own United Home and Nation powwow, to, you know, powwows in other states, it's always, you know, just a feeling of like, I'm with my people. You know, when you walk in, everybody just, you know, welcomes you. You can get out there and dance and share, and, you know, it's just a great time to just, you know, and talk and be with family and friends, you know, new and old. So I enjoy participating in the powwows. I enjoy my kids participating in the powwow. Powwows are, you know, they've progressed over the years. They were traditionally, you know, private ceremonies for tribes, and they've kind of evolved into, you know, more public, to invite folks outside to come in and witness and take a part.
And by inviting people to their powwows and other cultural events, they hope to become more recognized and known as the Native people of Louisiana, to get the help their community needs, as there are major differences in receiving state funding and federal funding.
The difference between state recognition and federal recognition for a lot of tribes has to do with funding and resources that are available. The difference in between what you're able to access as a state tribe versus what you're able to access as a federal tribe. So some of the funding requirements in federal grants, you know, for tribal communities, states that you have to be federally recognized. Now, there are some that are aimed for state and federal, but there are a lot more when it comes to tribal grants that ask that you be federally recognized. Also, when it comes to protection of lands, to land trusts, to governing and around those resources, you know, there's a lot more resources as a federal tribe that you can have access to rather than a state tribe. But as a state tribe, we have been governing ourselves for many, many years. We have been able to access resources and funding to be able to bring back into our communities to help our tribal citizens. So we have been managing, you know, as well as, you know, any other tribe when it comes to be able to providing for our people. And we will continue to do so for as long as we need to, until we reach that federal recognition status.